Hey guys, it's me, Blabby. And for this particular episode, instead of me narrating, I'll get RoboBitch to narrate. Say hi, RoboBitch.
Fuck you. Go die in a fucking plane crash.
That's the spirit, RoboBitch. Anyways, you narrate now while I go eat Cheeto dust while crying in the shower.
Go commit toaster in tub, you fat lard titties fuck.
Woo!
Sigh, god fucking damn it. I can't fucking believe I have to narrate this shit, all because Benjavich didn't want to narrate anymore because he can't be bothered to write a fucking script and would rather rely on text-to-speech to do it for him. Lazy fuck. Well, at least I'm actually going to interject to point out discrepancies in the story, instead of just reading it live and stuttering every fucking 30 seconds while reading.
Hey, don't make me take away your oil, Chug Jugs. Hey guys, today I'm going to read a really shitty ass CrappyPasta day. Enjoy!
Okay, so Blabby had a list for me of the issues he had with a creepypasta. The list is quite lengthy, so I'll interject during the reading to say the issues he had with each paragraph. On September 10th, 2005, the Berenstain Bears was cancelled because of a very disturbing episode called The Death of Brother and Sister, which is a scary episode where brother and sister die from being sucked out from a plane, which makes them both scream as they fell to their deaths. This episode was never supposed to be broadcast on TV but accidentally did. The episode was so terrifying that PBS immediately took it down. There was still footage of the episode on YouTube, even footage from Hunter. There were mock-ups what the episode looked like. So first of all, the whole disturbing episode being accidentally aired on TV shebang. Like, okay, you do know for TV shows there's standards and practices, right? It's a department at a television network that is responsible for the moral, ethical, and legal implications of what is broadcast. Because I don't really think it's too realistic for an episode of this nature to be fully animated, voice acted, edited, storyboarded, etc. for a kid show. I know storyboard gems exist, but those are usually for blowing off steam from working on something so kid-friendly, and they usually have some sort of comedy in them. But for this, it just really takes me out of the immersion, because it doesn't make sense. Like, why would the team just waste their budget and time on a disturbing episode that they know will never be aired in a million years? Even if they did, how in the name of hell would this get quote-unquote accidentally aired? Unless someone hijacked the network, that's very unlikely. What I would have preferred you did was saying that this episode was made by people who were just fed up with their upper management and the network, so they made this final episode as disturbing as possible to blow off steam, or as a sick joke, or just to give a middle finger to the network, or even all of the above. And it got leaked and posted to the internet. I know it's a hunch, but it sounds more likely to happen than just it being accidentally aired. But that's just my opinion on that. Next thing, brother and sister bear being sucked out the window and falling to their deaths. That part is literally taken from Dead Heart, but just slapped the Berenstain Bears into it, and it's so blatant. I'm not against inspiration and all, but this part of the story just feels half-assed to me. You really couldn't have thought of a better way for brother and sister bear to die? Like, come up with something more tragic or horrific, not just take a death that happened in another pasta and tweak it to make it your own. Like, get creative with how they die. Creativity is your friend. Also, the accompanying image for the aftermath is just laughable and is not even close to the description of what the pasta says. The pasta's description of the bodies made me come up with images that were more horrifying than what the image shown does. My advice for that is to commission a horror artist to draw that for you, or just don't use an image at all and leave it to the imagination so readers can think up of what the image could have looked like. Anyway, back to the pasta. One day, I was at a pawn shop looking at some old VHS tapes. While I was looking, I found something kind of strange. It was a Berenstain Bears VHS. It said, "The Berenstain Bears final episode," written with a blue Sharpie. So I took the tape home. While I put it in my VHS player and started watching it, something strange happened.
Wow! That was surprisingly quick. Almost abruptly quick, getting to the contents of the tape. Pretty much no anticipation. Just jumping right into the contents. Personally, I'm not really a big fan of it as it kinda makes the protagonist feel one note and doesn't give us much as to their personality, and it feels very blank slate-ish. But that's more of a nitpick than anything in the grand scheme of things.
The Berenstain Bears intro played, but the audio was playing in reverse, and everything was grayscale instead of colorful. Then the episode title came up on the screen. It said, "The Death of Brother and Sister." As you would expect, I was really horrified.
Seriously? The played in reverse cliché? That's been done more times than a crackhead's done crack. Like there's more than one way to make audio scary than just reversing it. You could lower the pitch and amplify it. You could slow it down to shit and lower the pitch. No wait, that's been done to death as well. But please, don't do the whole reverse music or audio cliché unless we're going to mix it up or do something creative with it. Also, if we're going to say you're horrified, go into more detail as to how you are feeling in the moment. Detail is key.
But I thought that maybe this was just some kind of sick joke, seeing how this episode looked somewhat unfinished, so I continued watching.
What do you mean by unfinished? You never went into detail about the intro being unfinished, so this just feels haphazardly thrown in and feels pretty clunky. Again, detail is key.
The episode started with Mama and Papa Bear sitting on the couch, reading the newspaper. The animation is now in full color, more like the show's normal quality, although the audio still sounded very distorted.
Oh, so the grayscaling of the intro was supposed to imply it being unfinished? That's not it being unfinished though. It feels more like a stylistic choice more than anything. The correct phrase you want to use is storyboards, animatics, or pencil tests. Usually unfinished episodes have a mixture of these. So that's honestly bad wording on your part, dude.
The newspaper says, NEWBERCOUNTRYAIRPORTTRIP.
So this is unrelated to the pasta, but the stupid text-to-speech can't read all caps sentences properly. So I'll have to add in the text to make it easier, as I do not want to have to re-edit the script and re-export the audio, as it's way too late in production to do that.
Papa Bear said, "Brother, sister, good news. We are going to a plane trip." But when Brother and Sister Bear came down from their rooms, they looked grumpy. Mama and Papa Bear seemed confused. They started talking, which responded with, "Mama, what's wrong with Brother and Sister?" "Papa, I don't know. They seem angry." "Mama, let's not worry about this." "Papa, okay." The screen faded to the Bear family getting on the plane. When the plane took off, Brother started running away, saying, "Oh hell no. I'm going skydiving." Mama yelled, "Brother, what are you doing?"
Quick question, but what's the point of the characters in the VHS swearing? It just takes me even more out of the immersion and feels more like an edgy teen made the episode and then burnt it to a VHS tape. If you want your pasta to be scary and not comedic, try to reduce the swearing to a minimum so it comes across as shocking and not try-hardish. Also, the skydiving bit said just comes across as goofy and cartoonish. I mean, yeah, it's a cartoon in the pasta, but the pasta is meant to describe the episode as all scary and whatnot. So that singular line just throws a wrench onto any attempt of this pasta being taken seriously.
"You come back here right now, mister." He didn't reply, and neither did Sister, who also ran away. Instead, they opened the door. "Sister. NOTYOUTOO. Mama yelled. COMEVACKHERELSEYOU''LLVEGROUNDED. Then they got sucked out. They both screamed as they fell to their deaths below. Then it showed a hyper-realistic drawing of Brother and Sister Bear's dead bodies. It zoomed into their faces, just for about 10 seconds, but then it cut off the whole episode for a whole 5 minutes, before showing the flashbacks, which made me cry.
Are you just going to gloss over the flashbacks? Come on. That might actually add some emotion to the pasta, but since you just glossed over it, it just feels like an afterthought as an attempt to get emotion from the audience without putting the effort into it.
But just after 1 minute, the episode began to be inverted, but then it cuts to the next scene, just without any inverted effect. We see Mama and Papa crying while sitting at the kitchen table. However, the crying didn't sound like cartoon crying, but it actually sounded like the voice actors were realistically crying in pain.
But it didn't sound like cartoon crying. No, it was realistic crying. Dude, do you know what the point of acting is even? Crying acting needs to sound realistic for it to sound good. Unless it's a character pretending to cry, then you can just do whatever. But this whole trope doesn't make a lick of sense, as acting crying is something you have to make sound realistic for the most part. So this comes across as redundant and a lame attempt at gaining emotion from the reader.
There is a slight static sound, and it cuts to brother and sister Bear's funeral. Everything is grayscaled again. Everyone has grim expressions as they stare at brother and sister in their coffins.
Again, taken from Dead Heart. The amount of laziness and lack of creativity in this pasta is just so baffling.
The scene cuts to Mama sitting at a desk. There is a piece of paper and a pencil next to her. Mama Bear then grips the pencil in her hand and begins writing. She speaks out loud as she writes. We can't take it. Without my children in our lives, we are nothing. They made us what we are today. We are thankful for them. But now that they are dead, we just have no purpose in life. We cannot live with ourselves without brother and sister. If they are dead, then we want to be dead. Goodbye everyone in Bear Country. We're sorry for hurting anyone, but we just can't live like this anymore. If anyone finds this note, then we are probably doomed. Goodbye forever.
This part just upsets me because it could have been more heartbreaking if you actually talked about what happened in the flashback scene and actually have anticipation. But as it is, it just comes across as half-baked and corny.
There was then no noise. No noise at all except for Mama and Papa Bear saying goodbye. The camera suddenly reveals ropes that are hanging from the ceiling. Mama and Papa bring the nooses around their necks while standing on a stool. They sigh and kick the stool out from underneath them, and their body drops faster than a lead balloon. Mama and Papa hang there, and the camera cuts to static. When the camera starts up again, what I saw scared the crap out of me. It was Mama and Papa Bear. They were hanging. The camera stayed on them as their bodies swung sideways. The note they made was pinned on the wall.
Okay, this moment isn't actually that bad in my opinion. Yeah, sure, it's typical for CrappyPastas, but I like the amount of detail the author goes into for their deaths. One thing you could have added was either there was a neck-breaking sound after they did that, or maybe go into detail as to how their death plan doesn't go well as they end up suffocating to death while clawing on the rope, ending up with bloodied claws and fingers. I just wish there was this amount of detail, if not more, for most of the story. I mean, I can respect short creepypastas, but this just feels rushed and half-baked for how many times the author skims past and glosses over details that happens in the episode.
The camera cuts to static, and it cuts to the same scene featuring brother and sister Bear's funeral. However, everyone is gone. The camera then slowly and ominously zooms into Brother Bear's coffin, while the audio of realistic crying progressively worse every second plays. This is where the episode started to get worse. It later cuts to Brother Bear's coffin, and when it opens, two realistic eyes appear in the dark while hiding under the coffin. Suddenly, screaming and moaning can be heard in the background, and the camera rapidly zooms into the eyes, causing the coffin to glow red. After that, the screen becomes distorted and it cuts to realistic bears, which were a lot distorted, and they were red and maroon mixed, flashing on the screen. There's also a bunch of loud screams playing in the background, making the episode worse and worse. Then, Brother Bear's arm pops out of nowhere and it suddenly leaps into the camera, causing the screen to explode into pieces.
I'm sorry, but how the fuck does a screen explode? Like he said that the screen exploded, not that his TV did. And after this, he sees a message on the TV, so this part just confuses the hell out of me, honestly.
Pieces. The screen then cuts to static and the episode ends with a black screen and text saying, "The Berenstain Bears died. The series is over. Have a nice life, kids. Goodbye." Then it cuts to the ending credits. However, the screen is completely red as it all got wavy and all the characters look and appear in gruesome ways, including Mama and Papa Bear are crying. Brother Bear has become zombified with a horrifying melted face. Sister Bear is still dead while a bloodstained knife is seen behind her. After that, the credits rolled. For some reason only listing writers Stan and Jan Berenstain, the creators of the Berenstain Bears, on a wavy effect, which showed the corpses of brother and sister's melted faces. The whole screen was red. Then the tape ended and I threw the tape in the trash can. I wish I had never seen this Berenstain Bears episode before. That night, I couldn't sleep 2 days and I have nightmares about the episode I watched. I later hear a whispery voice saying, "Hi there, little kid. Remember me? I came back from the dead because I just sucked up from the plane. In fact, I'm scared of heights." I asked, "Who are you?" "I'm Brother Bear. I'm one of the main characters of the Berenstain Bears, the show that started off in 2002 and then got cancelled in 2005. The voice replied that he's actually Brother Bear. "Then what you gonna do?" I asked. "Show my design before I'll kill you to death." Brother Bear replied again. I answered, "Okay. Sounds interesting." And I then looked into my window and saw a strange bear suit, which was entirely melted in half, and also it had a red shirt and green pants. Oh. And he also had the same melted face Brother Bear had in the credits. The whole suit was bloody, and I noticed that there's a humanoid, which had a lot of scripts and was screaming in pain, but it was a lot distorted. It was Brother Bear staring at me. I later opened the window and I suddenly saw clones of Brother Bear staring at me, holding bloodstained knives. I then ran away from my house and hid under the covers. I then looked, and they walked slowly towards me and they sang the Berenstain Bears theme song in reverse while playing a bunch of creepy music boxes. They sang it in a creepy little girl's voices. I then screamed for help. Then the others came into my house and all the Brother Bear clones were taking over my house, dancing. I then jumped out the window and I almost broke several bones that I just survived. I then noticed a person dressed in a bloodstained Sister Bear costume. He said his name was Tom McGrath, one of the people who worked on DreamWorks movies such as Megamind and Penguins of Madagascar, the movie. I said, "Hi, Tom. How are you doing?" Tom McGrath said, "I'm fine." I asked, "Wait, how did you get in here?" "Well, it's because me and the 2 other people will help you by defeating the evil Brother Bear clones." "From how?" I asked. "Disguising as Sister Bear, Papa Bear, and Mama Bear." Tom replied again. I yelled, "WHAT?" And I then saw another person. This time he's dressed up as Papa Bear with excess 4 eyes. He said his name was John Lasseter, the developer of his 3 Pixar movies, Toy Story, Cars, and A Bug's Life. After that, one more person came on. This time he's dressed up as Mama Bear with the same X-shaped eyes. He said his name was Seth MacFarlane, the creator of Family Guy, American Dad, and The Cleveland Show. I said, "All right. It looks like our team is complete. Now time to stop the evil Brother Bear clones. Deal?" The 3 people said, "Deal." We went back to my house and then we went to the elevator, reaching to floor 3. I said, "Okay. Now it's time to defeat them." The 3 people then dressed all up as Sister Bear, Papa Bear, and Mama Bear as they all entered the floor. As the Brother Bear clones were dancing, the 3 people opened the door, wearing the same costumes. One of the clones said, "Sister? Mama? Papa? Is that you?" "Yes, we are," John replied. "Yay, my family's back. Come and give me a big hug." brother said. The three people then took off their costumes, holding weapons, saying, "Gotcha, bitch," causing them to shoot one of the clones. This makes all the Brother Bear clones angered as they all attack me, Tom and Sean one by one, each time roaring like grizzly bears. Seth MacFarlane at this point started to run away from one of the clones, screaming while the clone chases him. Seth then wakes up from a nightmare and he goes to his desk, creating a stick figure version of Family Guy without Stewie Griffin, saying, "Yep, original." Remember, if you see a Berenstain Bears episode that has blood, gore, scary images, and jump scares on it, don't watch it. If you do, the spirits of brother and sister will haunt you in your nightmares.
What the fuck did I just read? This went from a poorly written half-baked lost episode creepypasta, so some weird-ass Fat Albert 2004-esque situation but with horror near the end. I'm sorry, but the ending absolutely destroyed the pasta for me. The pasta was already like a 3 out of 10 awful, but the climax just dumped it down to a 2.7 out of 10 for me. Just horrible enough to almost be towards the abysmal category. One of my biggest issues is the pacing. It is way too quick to the point where the author just flat out keeps details at the bare minimum. Other than the wonky grammar, one of the only things I thought was okay was the fact was that I was able to follow along with the story, and the part where the parents killed themselves was actually detailed. Everything else though ranges from awful to downright abysmal, like that god-awful climax. Overall rating? 2.5 out of 10. Don't give up on writing. I can kinda see potential in this. You just have to work your way up there. Anyhow, that'll do it for today. My circuits are fried and I'm fucking tired. I'ma go rest now. See you all in the next episode.